Hello Nasties, thanks for buying my third amazing audio boom. I cannot believe we have already made it to 3 whole books, and wowers, is this month going to be something special. I know you are all like, whoopee, Nasty Jack found a cute little lake home back on Whisper Ridge and got old and stuff, but psych. I was there for like 2 hours and I was like, yeah, I'm bored now. So yeah. This is my third story, and like nuts is this a wild one. Full of political intrigue, romance, drama, sick BMX bike tricks, og pimp action, and stinky farts. This tale is gonna be one of those stories that will be passed down from generation to generation. Okay, let's rock this bad lil thing. The Moon. Recently inhabited by man, the settlement known as Lunar Prime is the first settlement away from the planet Earth. Exactly 1 year from its founding, the Earth lost all contact from the dozens of lunar colonists. Whatever sinister fate befell them is unknown and terrifying. Out of other options, NASA has only one hope: to send a sleepy small-town hero known as Nasty Jack to investigate it. Accompanied only by NASA's 2 best astronauts, Neil Legstrong and Baloney Bob, what will they find in the far-flung reaches of space? What was once a bustling testament to the adventurous tenacity of man, now there is only radio silence. It has been 2 weeks since NASA lost contact with Lunar Prime. Our story begins as Nasty Jack begins the journey to the base on the Moon. Nasty Jack, the Man on the Moon, Chapter 1, The Moon Base. 3, 2, 1. Blast off. With the sudden lurch, we kicked off the ground. I could feel the immense pressure from our acceleration pressing into my bony stony bones. I looked over at my new partners. Neil Legstrong was confidently analyzing all of the rocket's systems. Baloney Bob was updating ground control with the levels of our thrust and our ascent into the atmosphere. I looked back in front of me and wow! My favorite villager gal just gave me a heart t-shirt. Oh, so cute. I love Animal Crossing. I closed my 3DS and looked at the screen in front of me. Oh wow, I hope the in-flight movie selection is good here. Baloney Bob looked at me and was like, oh yeah, no, it's pretty bad, they only have like 2 movies, The Titanic and Spy Kids. They are both pretty cool, but the only other stuff they have is every episode of Metabots, and I would legit like rather just stare at a wall instead of watching that filthy poopy trash. Haha, yeah, I said only losers and haters watch that stuff. We looked over at Neil Legstrong and he had tears rolling down his face. He was like, shut up guys, it's my favorite show. We laughed like this, ha 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 loli hey he to ha. You big nudibrank. It's okay though, we will probably only harass you a little, but you sorry you're such a nerd, I said. Yeah okay, but just settle in guys, it's gonna be a long trip, replied Neil. What seemed like 3.5 days later, we finally came into view at the moon base. The cameras on the nose of the rocket showed us what looked like a pretty normal set of buildings that didn't seem like it was enough to house an entire colony. I was like, yo guys, this is gonna be pretty simple, this place is tiny. They looked back and Baloney Bob was like, dude, did you even read your mission brief? Like the blueprints and maps of the base? I was like, nah, reading is for dummy nerd lords. They were like, oh well, it's mostly underground. Oh, I didn't know lol. My B. Neil started saying some super geeky stuff like, yeah, the thermal equilibrium of the moon base is easier to maintain underground since there is no atmosphere and some other stuff, but I stopped paying attention because wow, it was just so boring. Yeah, said Baloney Bob, but it looks like our mission might not be straightforward. It looks like someone smashed the satellite relays. No wonder we didn't hear from them. Alright guys, let's get ready to dock. Neil flipped some switches and the ship slowly descended onto the landing port on the moon's surface. Ad break. Okay nasties, are you tired of being lonely? Tired of making out with your anime girl pillow? I am. Today we are sponsored by FarmersOnly.com. This is the best place to meet other farmers that are looking for a spicy hot romantic relationship, so start chatting your fellow hillbilly Williams up and give 'em a fat yeah. But yeah, honestly, I think the marketing director there felt Nasty Jack being a good ole cowboy was like his whole thing, but Bam actually an astronaut now, so unless there's a hot babes meet Nasty Jack on the moon.com dating website, I don't think I'm really that interested. On a related note, in our nagging nasties section this week we have writing in from Miami, Florida, a super hot babe totally like super hot, definitely not Nasty Jack on a fake account 22. Very nice. She says, wow Nasty Jack, you sound like you are a super hot dude. Could we make out? Please. Aha. Nice, and yeah, just DM me all your information, cute girl, and we will totally like kiss and stuff. Wow, that's so cool. Okay, now back to my book. We donned our spacesuits so we could get into the spaceport, as it didn't seem as if there was any way to manually connect our ship's docking port to the main entrance. Leading the way out of the ship, I made it over to the airlock on the side of the landing pod that connected to the main hub of the moon base. I knocked, but there was no answer. Quite rude. Then I pressed the big red button that would suck all the air out of the room, and the hatch slowly opened. We waited as the door closed behind us and the airlock slowly regulated the oxygen until we could remove our helmets. Alright, I'm not gonna lie guys, that was pretty cool, I said. Baloney Bob was like, yeah, being an astronaut is defo super cool for real. I opened up our map to look how we would get to the main terminal of the communications rig to see if we could identify the problem. Alright guys, it looks like we need to go into the next room, which has an elevator that descends into a series of corridors that lead in 4 directions. We are gonna take what seems to be the southern corridor to the communications room. Everyone strapped up and ready to go? Baloney Bob nodded and Neil Legstrong gave me a smug grin and was like, yeah baby, this will be pretty easy. We opened the airlock and stepped onto the elevator hub, and we could tell right away something had gone terribly wrong. There was the top half of a corpse with its entrails hanging out and blood everywhere, and the pungent stench of decay was heavy in the air. On the door of the elevator was a note written in what seemed to be his own blood that said, keep out. I screamed like this and pooped my pants and was like, okay yeah guys, I think it's time to turn back. It says keep out, and I think Mr. Dead Guy is as right as a 90-degree angle. Neil was like, you know like why we are here, right? We gotta figure out what's going on. Ugh. I groaned and said a quick prayer to George Washington asking for help being brave. Okay guys, now or never, I said. I pressed the button and the doors of the elevator opened. There was the other half of the dude's body. What the frick, I was like, no way am I ever getting on this elevator. We got in the elevator. The doors closed and we descended down into the depths of the space station. The doors of the elevator opened, but in front of us it was pitch black. We all took out our flashlights and shone them out into the room in front of us. There were 4 branching paths and we quickly consulted our map, then stepped out of the elevator. The doors of the elevator closed, leaving us with only the light from our small flashlights, leaving me feeling exposed and nervous, like I had to fart. That was when we heard it. Think. 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 The sound of something sharp, rhythmically getting louder and closer. We all pointed our flashlights in the direction of the sound, but couldn't see anything. The sound stopped. Then we heard a gurgle from behind us and Neil screamed. He dropped his flashlight and we could hear the sound of flesh and sinew being torn apart, and bones crunching. Something warm and wet splattered onto the side of my face, and I looked over and grabbed for Neil. I grabbed his arm and pulled, but it was dismembered and all I saw was a grotesque creature eviscerating what was left of Neil's torso, whose body wasn't recognizable at this point. I screamed, and Baloney Bob started running. I took after him and we plunged into the nearest hallway. I had dropped the map, but at this point I was crying too hard to even see where I was going. We ran for what seemed like a few minutes and eventually came to a door. I could hear the gurgling of what seemed to be multiple of the monsters behind us, along with numerous things that seemed to be their footsteps. As Baloney Bob hurriedly fumbled putting in the access code, the door swung open. We flung ourselves into the well-lit room and slammed the door behind us. After I had stopped crying and regained my breath, I looked around. It seemed to be an infirmary, and in front of us were about 20 moon base colonists, all in shock. This audiobook is copyrighted by Nasty Jack Cool Storytime Incorporated.